Welcome, welcome. I will let people jump on. And Kayla, I can't see, who's joining and so forth. Um, but if you think we're good to go, just let me know and I'll start.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Okay,
Everyone feel free to put your name and stuff in the chat so we can all see you and say hi.
great. Thanks. All right, so hi, welcome. Welcome to our webinar today. We're going to be talking about strengthening organizations, systems, and communities through our consulting and training services. And we are going to feature some questions about the Youth Action Leadership Certificate because we get lots of questions about that. So we will get to that towards the end of our presentation. So go ahead, like Kayla said, introduce yourself in the chat, name, pronouns, organization, location, and an emoji of how your day's going so far. I think if I was doing this, it would be like one of those sleepy emojis, but also excited because I have new furniture coming. So that's great. Feel free to ask questions throughout the presentation. Kayla will be working on that for us and managing that. And the slides and the recording will be available on our website. We'll also have a survey following the webinar that just really helps us know what do we need to improve, what questions do folks still have, and so forth. So please do that. So yeah, let's jump in. I'm Sarah Billings. I am the Director of Community Strategies from the National Network for Youth. We also are joined by Kayla Blau and Tom Cook. They're going to share a little later about their experiences working with us because, it's better to hear it from them than from me. So you'll be introduced to them again in a little bit. And so for our agenda today, it's simple and focused. We're going to start with a brief overview of who we are and why this matters. We'll walk through what we offer and we'll share a couple recent examples. Kayla and Tom will help us out with that from some communities we've partnered with. And we'll also talk about the Youth Action Leadership Certificate. And we'll close out with how you can partner with us. Like I said, we'll leave time at the end for questions. So just remember to drop those in to the chat and the Q&A. And our Kayla, there's two today, will help monitor that. And she's also going to help us out with any tech. So if you don't know about us, or if you want a reminder, the National Network for Youth is on a mission to transform systems so that no young person in America will experience homelessness. For more than 50 years, we've been partnering with communities across the country to strengthen systems, elevate youth voice, and really turn lived experience into meaningful policy and practice change. And we are a membership organization. So please check out our membership, become a member of the National Network for Youth, and join us in this work. You can connect with peers, gain expert guidance, and stay up to date on funding and policies that are affecting youth and youth homelessness. So over our 50 years, we've done a lot of work in communities, but some of our most recent work started in 2019 when we launched our local cross systems collaborative initiative. And we've had the privilege of working directly with communities with this initiative. That's what my team has been really focused on, our community strategies team. And in this work, we support local efforts to address the root causes of youth homelessness by advancing innovative long-term solutions through multi-level cross-systems collaboration. What does that mean? We've been sitting at tables with youth action boards, continuums of care, state agencies, and cross-system leaders, and working on really figuring out how do we bring folks together and really identify what are those lever points that we can pull and make real change in communities. So in doing that work, we kind of kept hearing the same themes come up again over and over, like all the same barriers, right? And I would love to hear from you all. You can throw it in the chat. We've heard all of these themes come up, the same stories, same frustrations, and it didn't really matter, the state or the size of the community. A lot of these themes were pretty consistent. And they were also the things that we hear from our members and other folks that were reaching out for support. So I'd love to hear from you if you have ever, we'll play Have You Ever, wondered, let me get this to work. There we go. We have a YAB, but now what? So go ahead and throw an emoji in the chat or react. We want authentic youth partnership, but what does that actually look like? We've done trainings before, but nothing really changed, right? Trainings for training's sake. How do we align systems that were just never designed to collaborate? How do we prevent youth homelessness and not just respond to it? Yes, I'm seeing folks with their fire emojis and their reactions. Yes. What is the difference between advocacy and lobbying? Absolutely. I had this question even, not that long ago. So, how do we prepare for and lead effective meetings with elected officials? How do we translate local impact into a compelling policy ask? And how do we compensate and support youth leaders ethically? And plenty more, right? So these are things that we've heard and seen over the years. And we really kind of said, we know how to answer a lot of these questions. We have trainings and tools and frameworks to address these challenges that we've developed with communities across the nation over time. But we hadn't really, until now, intentionally packaged that and expanded on that. And focused on delivering them to you in a way that meets this moment and makes it really accessible to you. So we grew our training and consulting services in response to what we were hearing. And everything that we share today and that you'll see, it comes from the field. It comes from communities that are navigating real complexity. And it really is, we hope, practical and sustainable support. And a lot of it was actually developed with paid youth consultants. So here's what this looks like. We started receiving, more and more requests, especially around this time last year, when federal priorities were shifting. And we realized we needed just a clearer way to share how we can assist communities. We've always been very responsive, but we realized we needed to kind of get more organized and formal, to better serve you all. And so we pulled our consulting and training and technical assistance offerings into one clear menu. And Kayla's going to drop that in the chat for you. And so you'll see when you go there, you can also scan this QR code and get that. You'll see those details. And it really outlines our focus areas, the formats, and also how we can tailor things to support your needs in your community and really meet you where you are. So please grab those. I'll give you another minute if you're gonna grab the QR code, but also know that this is actually just on our webpage. If you go to NN4Y webpage, NN4Youth.org, you'll find our training and consulting services, and that's there for you to access at any time or share with folks at any time. So we won't go through the entire menu because there's a lot of different things and we want to highlight some pieces. But I will just help you note, when you pull up the brochure, you're going to see support across a number of key areas. You're going to see youth and adult partnerships and power sharing, youth action board development and sustainability, policy and advocacy, systems alignment and cross-systems collaboration, leadership and facilitation skill building, strategic storytelling, and federal navigation support. You'll also see some things about special programs like the Youth Action Leadership Certificate, which we'll talk again about in a little bit. Each of these things can stand alone, or we can really braid them together depending on what your community is looking for and what you need. So it's important to know how all of these services work and how they're really customizable. We don't bring a one-size-fits-all model because every community has unique needs and unique interests, right? We work with Continuums of Care, state coalitions, youth serving providers, youth action boards, government, schools, and cross-systems coalitions from the local to the national level. So we're really, if you care about youth homelessness, youth systems change, we are ready to partner with you. And our engagements really range from a single session, you'll see this in a little bit, to multi-year infrastructure partnerships, really long-term. that we can really work with you long term and work on your community's goals. So yeah, it really depends on your community's capacity and your goals. And we're just looking to make sure that we're meeting the moment for all of you. So that's my quick overview. Hope it's helpful, and I hope it's generating some questions if you have them. But we're gonna talk about what it actually looks like in practice. And I could certainly tell you all about it. And I'll do a little intro, but it's much better to hear directly from the communities who have partnered with us. So I'm excited to have a few folks here, of folks that can speak to their experiences of working alongside us. We're going to start with our friends at Building Changes in Washington State. And Kayla's here to talk about these two things that we did in December and January. Trinity, our senior policy advisor, partnered with Kayla's team to deliver two 90-minute virtual trainings on strategic storytelling and connecting with decision makers. So Kayla is the strategic advisor of housing and education at Building Changes. And Kayla, thank you so much for being here. We'd love to hear about your experience. I think I would start with asking, what led you to partner with NN4Y?
Yeah, thank you. So we have a statewide coalition that we were hoping to get engaged in more advocacy. They're all, direct service providers or youth themselves. And so, especially with the ahead of legislative session here in Washington, we were working with elected officials to introduce a McKinney-Vento bill that would codify that into Washington state law if it went away at the federal level with all the threats of that. And so we really wanted to skill up our community before session to one, understand, all of the ins and outs of how can I advocate if I work at a nonprofit, or what is advocacy versus lobbying, all of those, nuances, and also skill them up with, the ability to testify and to feel comfortable sharing their story and understanding the legislative process.
Awesome. Thank you. And can you share a little bit about maybe what felt different about this experience compared to other trainings you've had or brought in? Because I think you bring in a decent amount to that group.
hmm Yeah, this was really helpful because of the National Network for Youth is so specific, like so niche, in that oftentimes the trainers we bring in might work in social work in general or education in general, but really working at that intersection of youth homelessness and education in a really targeted way just brings a breadth of that deep experience and expertise that was really, really helpful to help craft the training together.
Awesome, thanks. And I'm not sure if it's been enough time yet, but I'd love to hear about if you've noticed any changes or had any results as a impact of us coming in and doing that work together.
Yeah, we were very pleasantly surprised at first. We were a little hesitant that advocates that are already overworked and underpaid on the ground doing crisis work, like to add something to their plate of, doing advocacy, was a little worried about that. But advocates were super excited. They were like, thank you so much. Like I've sent this to all my friends. We're ready to sign in pro and to go testify. So we had about 400 folks sign in pro. Now it's getting, as politics do, the bill is still getting held up in the process, but it really helped build that momentum. So again, yeah, over 400 folks signed in pro. We had 8 folks testify. We had to actually turn away advocates from testifying because our lobbyist was like, okay, we don't want to overwhelm. Um, so yeah, that energy was really helpful, and to continue building that energy, as we look towards the next legislative session, we're also partnering with a bunch of grassroots orgs to try and build up a coalition of coalitions, if that makes sense. And so these trainings were really helpful, like the worksheets and things like that are helpful for those means as well.
Thanks so much, Kayla. Yeah, so a little bit about some of our trainings. We really try to provide actual, tangible things for trainings like this, connecting with decision makers and strategic storytelling, so that folks go from, just hearing about it and thinking about it to like really putting things down on paper. And it seems sometimes simple, but just the time to do that in a training and the tool put in front of you really, I think, makes the difference, is what I've noticed. So
Mhm.
Thanks so much. Is there anything else you'd like to share?
I would just, yeah, encourage anyone out there who is interested to partner. We had a really incredible experience with National Network for Youth again, with how tailored it was, really specific to our needs. And so, yeah, I would highly recommend.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kayla. Round
Thank
of
you.
applause for Kayla. Appreciate that so much. All
Thanks.
right, so now we're going to talk to Tom. So, Tom and I, this was just, gosh, I don't know, 3 weeks ago. I don't know. It was
Yeah,
less than a month, Tom. Um, so Tom's the director of operations at YouthWorks in North Dakota, and we partnered with him and his team for a full day in person, um, and youth adult partnership training, really focused on strengthening internal alignment, and building authentic power sharing structures with their young people. And I think we had about 55 staff members from YouthWorks. Um,
correct.
so I went to Bismarck, and it was warmer in Bismarck than it was in Pennsylvania, so I was fine with that. And it was beautiful. I took a beautiful snowy walk while I was there. So yeah, Tom, we'd love to hear from you. And I'm really curious, I think, to start out with, like, what challenge or goal led you to partner with us?
Well, we've been a part of, or a partner, a member, I should say, of the National Network for Youth for quite a while, and so even our former executive director is actually a board member, and so for us, we've known about NN4Y, and so we just know that when we have certain things that are just out of our knowledge base, our expertise, we need to bring in the experts, right? And so for us, we really want to and are in the process of really establishing our YAB here at YouthWorks. And we're a part of different regional CoCs and their YABs, and that's great, but those are already established. And so really for us, the challenge was, where do we start, right? Where do we start? What does it look like? And so what are those things that we have to do and consider? Because we want to have the YAB, but what do we not know about the process? And so that was a big piece of it for us, is just tell me what I don't know, and how can I grow? How can we grow this YAB internally here? And that was really what we were looking for. And so that's in the process of growing now. And I'm actually super excited because our YAB is actually meeting as I'm on this meeting right now. Our YAB, small but mighty, is meeting right now to advise us on a recent property acquisition that we were able to make. And so, that was I guess the challenge. We want to make our YAB a bigger part of our organization.
Mm.
And so, National Network was able to really help us along with those little pieces that we just didn't think about because we didn't know to think about them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you. And congratulations on the property acquisition. That's very exciting. Um,
Yes, thank you.
so for you, what stood out about our approach, compared to other experiences or just in general? Yeah, tell us more.
I think for YouthWorks, it's really about just you want to be there working alongside of our youth, and that has been our approach for a very long time, and that's what we want to continue to do. In fact, we want to be led by youth. We want the youth to be our decision makers, in part. And so I think philosophies for us really just aligned, philosophies and values of YouthWorks as well as the National Network. And so I think it was just an easy partnership for us. It made sense, especially after talking and meeting with you, Sarah, and just knowing what we do about the National Network. It comes down to just alignment of our values and philosophies, and it was fantastic. The training that you were here for, Sarah. I mean, we're still referring back to the slides here I have on my desk and the notes that I took, and how can we implement those here even 3 weeks after the fact. It's not a very long time since our training, but we're still reflecting.
Yeah.
We're still talking about that, and we still have a lot of things to implement.
Yeah. And I think what was really important about, the time that I spent with you all was there was a lot going on in the organization and also in the context locally. And it was kind of a hard moment. And so,
Yes.
Tom got me on the phone a week prior and said, "Hey, we're having a tough time. It might just be a hard moment to walk into." And I was so impressed with how we made that work and kind of, I think in some ways leveraged it. So because of, I think that partnership that we had established and that dialogue that we had already had, it really helped to enhance what we were doing. And your team
Yeah.
was so cool, like very open-hearted and ready for the conversation.
Yeah.
And there was some fear, like, oh, they're in this really hard moment. Are they going to be able to come be open-hearted, and we made it work and we made it happen,
Yeah.
and I made you play a lot of games, so very sorry, but that is what I did. So I'd love to hear maybe how you anticipate, like you said, it's only been 3 weeks, but how you anticipate this influencing youth and adult partnerships, or how you anticipate it really being implemented, moving forward.
I think for us with our agency, the 55 people that were at that training were our professional staff throughout the whole state. And so I think the biggest piece is bringing to light what we're really trying to do organizationally, because the people who do the direct work with our YAB is pretty small, representative of our agency. And so, we're talking about a handful of people, 3, 4, 5 people that even really know the inner workings of what our YAB is trying to accomplish. And so, it's great for us to bring our entire staff in and go, here's what we're trying to do, guys. Here's how we're going to be influencing policies, procedures, our day-to-day, just how we approach different situations. And we got a lot of buy-in. We got a ton of buy-in from all of our staff. After that training, Sarah, just so you know, we actually went back to our board and said, listen, I know we've been talking about getting some youth on our board of directors. This is the time to do it. What are we waiting for?
Love
And
it.
so we're actually in the process now of identifying those youth, talking to different youth who would be interested, and opening those seats on our board of directors for youth, those youth who need to have their voices listened to. And it's I sometimes you just need that little push. You know what you want to accomplish, but you just need that little push. And I think that this training really gave us that push, and we're running with it.
Awesome. I love it. That's so good to hear. And I'll send you a 6-month follow-up survey and please put that in there. But yeah, that's really, really wonderful. I love it. Yeah, is there anything else before we move on to talk a little bit about some of our special programs?
I would just say, a lot of echoing what Kayla said previously, just that, the national network, they have so many, such unique perspective, and because you've been doing it, right, and you have best practices, and I think the biggest thing that I've appreciated is just, if I send Sarah an email with a question about future trainings, even that we're planning, we want trainings for our receptionists, because those are the faces of our agency. How
Hey.
can we do that? How can we tailor fit to our receptionists who aren't social workers and educators and all the other professional staff? And so the flexibility and the willingness to develop those trainings is huge for us too. And so that's something we really appreciate about the national network.
Thanks. Thanks, Tom. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, round of applause for Tom. Thank you, thank you. So, yeah, Bismarck was wonderful, and I found good Italian food there, which made me very happy. So, very welcoming place. So we're going to talk now about the Youth Action Leadership Certificate, and I'm going to start by sharing about how we did the most recent one. And that was as a 4-day camp, which we facilitated in partnership with the Oahu Youth Action Board, the Hawaii Department of Education, and Oahu Partners in Care, the Continuum of Care. So this version of the Youth Action Leadership Certificate was a multi-day immersive leadership experience. We brought together youth with lived experience in systems and adult allies, so service providers, et cetera. And so together we learned and used real systems mapping techniques, actual specific tools. And we built and used advocacy skills. So we were writing letters to legislators in our sessions for a real bill to reduce bus fees for youth. And our young people put their new facilitation skills that we taught during that time into practice by designing our final event of the weekend. And really, truly, I could not have asked for something more meaningful or powerfol. They shared their traditional practices with us during that time. They did a haka for us and an oli oli, the chant. It was beautiful. And it was really powerful to see them step up over the course of those 4 days into these powerful leadership roles. They were all systems involved in some way, including some of our youth who were justice involved, and one of them was facing 20 years. And, you know, so here he is being there and facing that, but learning these skills and saying, I'm going to figure out how to become this incredible advocate, right? So very, very powerful time, as you can tell, I think, by how I'm talking about it. And one of the young people wrote a letter on behalf of the YAB members that participated. And what they said in the letter was, the things we've done this weekend are things that some of us thought we'd never do. So all of us are, you know, youth people, and we understand, I think, what that means, and how powerful that statement is. So it was a joy to do, and it was a really, really wonderful way to see how this program can be done in a little bit of a different format than what we've done previously, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But wanted you to know kind of what it looks like when we do this sort of immersive camp version of our Youth Action Leadership Certificate. You can see on the top left, they did some high ropes and so forth. And then you can see the next picture to the right, they're actually laying out a Gantt chart, essentially, plan. And then they're in the bottom left writing their letters to support the bill. And then the next picture is all of us together in our t-shirts outside at the camp. So it was really wonderful. We had 10 youth, we had many staff, and we also had one monk seal that really wanted the certificate as well. So it was a wonderful time. So the Youth Action Leadership Certificate is really something that a lot of people have interest in. So I want to share about that because it's one of our special programs that we've been developing over the course of the year, and we're very excited about it. So you just saw how it could be done in the format of a camp. And there's also other ways that we can do it. But I'll talk first about what it is. It's a skill-based program for young people with lived experience and their allies who want to create change. And, you know, we make sure that it's a space that is youth-focused and youth-led, but it's also welcome to the allies and the staff that support young people. It's a very strong introduction to youth homelessness and to advocacy work. The sessions are interactive, and they were all co-developed by myself and Barbara Huggins, who is our Senior Community Strategies Associate, and young leaders from across the country. So we took our LCSC communities, our local cross-systems collaborative communities. We invited members from those communities to join us in a pilot program last year, and they helped us. They were compensated to help us develop this program out. And so it's really built with and led by young people. We've had 31 graduates complete the program in this year alone. And they build practical leadership skills like public speaking, project planning, project management is one of our focuses, systems mapping, which is one of my favorites, and youth and adult partnerships. We also talk about stakeholder engagement. We talk about how to run a YAB. We talk about how to, run a great meeting and how to facilitate a team. So there is kind of these big highlights of the program that we focus in on, and very specific skills that we have folks walk away with. So like I said, we offer it in different ways. We can offer it virtually, we can offer it in person. There's an option for a virtual open cohort, which I'll tell you about in a minute. And then we can also come and customize it for your community, both virtually or in person. And then, of course, you've heard about how we can do it in an immersive camp format. So we do have our virtual cohort opening for the spring. It opened today. Shout out to Kayla who made it happen today. So she got our registration up so that you all can actually visit the website today and register folks if you're interested. And that starts in April and meets for 2 hours every Wednesday for 8 weeks. And they go through these lessons, and there's work that they do to show that they have earned the certificate. We don't call it homework, but practice activities. And we support them throughout that entire time. They can drop into office hours and meet with Babs, who's our lead facilitator. They can reach out to us with specific things or coaching needs. And so this is really a highlight and a special program that we're continuing to run and really enjoying it. So I just want to check the chat because I think there's probably awesome. So I see one question, and we will get to more questions, but because I see it, I'll answer it. What's the time commitment from young people in the program? So it depends on how we do it, Amy. But if we're doing it virtually, like joining the cohort in the spring, it's 2 hours every week in class or in session. And then they do some extra work outside of session. It's not a heavy lift, but it depends on their learning styles and what they're comfortable with. I don't think that they spend generally more than an hour on that work, but some of them have gone above and beyond and spent 5 hours on that work. And we work with you to make sure that they're being compensated through your YAB or so forth. We ask that that's a commitment that's made by your YAB. We recommend you can do stipends or different things. We'll talk through it if you're looking to do something like that. So I hope I answered that question. If you do it in the in-person format, we generally do it over the course of a couple days. And so we've done it over the course of 3 days, and we've done it over the course of 4 days. We love the 4-day, but we can do it in 3 days, 2.5 kind of, if need be, kind of retreat style, if you will. All right, so I will get back to more questions. But I do see a question about if it's nationwide. Yeah, so all of our services are all across the nation, and the open cohort is available for anyone. We put it on Wednesdays from 4 to 6 Eastern Standard Time to hopefully bring in as many people as we can without being too late or too early anywhere. So, all right, so here's a little bit about our training process before we get to more questions. How do you work with us, right? We've tried to make it simple. I love a good form. And so you start by filling out the interest form that's on our website. It's right there on our training and consulting page. Within a few days, one of us, usually me, is reaching out to you to schedule a discovery call. So that call is about 20 minutes long, and it helps us understand your goals, your capacity, your needs, and really your vision, right? So from there, we make recommendations on how we can best support you. Because sometimes you come to me and you say, hey, I need this, but it actually turns out that we have this other thing that's really going to fit your needs. So we work together and I figure out kind of what I would recommend, and then you say, hey, this is what I want to quote for, right? So shortly after that, we'll send a quote to you. And if that feels aligned and works with what you need, we can move forward with an agreement. Typically, we do that in the form of an MOU. And I draft that for you. You check it out, make sure it's copacetic for you. And then we finish that and move ahead with our planning. We will hold dates for you early on if we can. But then once we get that MOU signed, we nail down those dates. We know exactly when we're doing it and what it's going to look like. And we begin planning. We always offer at least a 1 hour complimentary planning meeting. Sometimes it takes a little longer with you, and that's fine. We work with you because we'd rather it be really powerful and strong. And so we include that into our quotes and our prices. There are discounts for organizational level members. So if your organization is a member, you do receive additional complimentary hours and discounts. We build that right into your quote. And we have had people join because they actually save money if they join. So I make sure to include that information there as well. And yeah, we can customize anything and we will build that into the plan. So that's what the process looks like. And like I said, we're always refining it, but we did try to make it as simple as possible. You fill out the interest form and then you're guided throughout the process from there. So I think that brings us to question time. And so Kayla, I know that you've been handling questions. I do see one from Rihanna. Do we plan on having a summer cohort? Right now, we don't have one scheduled. We'll probably have one in the fall, just depending on, our schedules, but we find that spring and fall have worked nicely. We do sometimes do two, so that's possible that we'll have two in the fall. And so Kayla,
Other than that, yeah, I was going to say, Sarah, very, very efficient.
yeah.
So I don't know if we have there's no more questions in the chat, but if anyone else has questions, feel free to put them in there and Sarah can answer.
Yes. And if you don't have any questions, but you want to share, oh, cool. Awesome, Amy. Interest form submitted. Wonderful. You'll hear from me in a couple days. I should say that in a moment I'll share a little bit about our summit, but my availability to schedule discovery calls is limited until the end of summit. But then once we're back from summit, yeah, Amy said summit's a beast. Yeah, once we're back from summit, you'll hear from me and we'll get going. But you'll hear from me right away. I'll just not be able to schedule until later. Awesome. Awesome. All right, so what I'll do is I'll keep the chat up so that I can see it in case questions pop up. And then I'll go into our last couple slides to share just about us and what we do. And so first thing is our summit, which is coming up March 12th to 13th. So it's just a few very short weeks away. Kayla has a countdown for us somewhere. And it's in DC. We hold a full day of workshops and speakers, and we also hold a Hill Day. So there's workshops and speakers that day too, but the big focus on that day is Hill Day, where you go to your representatives with other people in your state, and you get to speak to them about issues around youth homelessness and youth systems. So please consider signing up for it. I will say this. We maxed out and then we were able to open up some more folks. And so, bye, Amy. Thank you. And so we were able to add a few more spots, but we are very limited. And I am not just saying that, we are so limited. So if you want to be there, please do register very, very soon. We do have a virtual option as well if you're interested in joining. So the QR code is there, and as always, you can go to our website and find that. Oh, Tasheen says, consider being a member of NN4Y. Yes, thank you. We love our members. So the Vital Docs hotline is another thing that is really amazing. I'm very excited about this, but it is a free dedicated state-specific legal assistance hotline for youth experiencing homelessness. So this is across the nation, and they can get information about how they can obtain state ID cards and licenses, birth certificates, social security cards, and any documents they need to obtain the ID and license. Kayla just dropped in the chat the link to learn more about that. But it is open every Wednesday, 12 to 8 Eastern, 11 to 7 Central, 10 to 6 Mountain, 9 to 5 Pacific. And it can be text or called. And this is in partnership with Baker McKenzie. So this is a wonderful opportunity that we have had really come on board this past year. And we've gotten wonderful response so far. So please share this with anyone and everyone that you feel like may need this. We know it's really essential to have these services, free for our youth and our young people. Okay, so that is my last slide. Just as a reminder, always, our model is that we are doing this together. So together we can end youth homelessness. And if you want to join us in that as a member, please go to our website, check that out. Even if you just want to join our listserv, we have tons and tons of information and webinars like this that come out. And of course, if you are interested in working with us in our training and consulting, please just fill out that interest form, and we'll reach out and get to meet and hear more about your goals and figure out how we can support you. So thank you, everyone. I will stay on for a little longer in case a question pops up. But other than that, yeah, you're free to go. And thank you so much to our speakers, Kayla and Tom, who joined us to share about their experiences.